Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. Today, gold is over $5,000 an ounce, and if you walk into a coin shop with $10,000, you can't even buy two 1-ounce coins anymore. Think about that. $10,000 used to feel like some serious money. But now, it barely gets you one coin and maybe a fractional piece. And here's the part that no one talks about. Even people who can afford it don't necessarily want to leave with just one coin. They want a handful. They want something that feels like accumulation. And even history tells us what happens when gold gets this expensive. Congratulations to John Motter-Zajewski for being the first comment on yesterday's video. John, thank you for the support, and y'all go find him down in the comments to start a conversation. History tells us something very important about human instinct around gold. The workhorse gold coins of history, the coins that actually moved through economies, paid wages, crossed borders, and built trade, were not 1-ounce coins. They were much smaller. Most of them were even closer to a tenth of an ounce or a quarter of an ounce. And if we're moving into a world where gold is $5,000 or $8,000 or even $10,000 an ounce, we shouldn't assume that the 1-ounce format will remain dominant. History suggests something else happens when gold becomes this valuable. People move smaller. Today, I want to talk about fractional gold, not as a novelty, not as a high premium impulse buy, but as a historical backbone of real gold circulation, and maybe even the future backbone of gold ownerships as prices rise. The modern gold investor has been trained to think in 1-ounce terms. The 1-ounce bullion coin feels standard, it feels efficient, and it feels like a serious way to stack, and in many ways it has been. In the late 1960s, when modern bullion programs began, the 1-ounce format became the retail benchmark. Large, clean, simple, easy to price. But that is a modern development. For most monetary history, 1 ounce of gold was a very large unit of value. It represented significant purchasing power, and it was not the everyday transactional piece. Instead, real economic engines were coins hovering around 1/10 to 1/4 of an ounce. In the United States, the $2.50 quarter eagle contained roughly 0.12 troy ounces of gold. That's very close to the 1/10 ounce class coin. And the $5 half eagle contained about 0.24 ounces, right in that quarter ounce range. They weren't exotic pieces, they weren't rare specialty coins, they were circulating coins. They were used. In Great Britain, the half sovereign contained 0.117 ounces, again near that 1/10 ounce. The full sovereign contained 0.235 ounces, nearly identical in gold weight to the US $5 half eagle. These coins traveled the world. The sovereign in particular became one of the most widely recognized gold coins in international trade. It was trusted across continents. In France, the 20 franc coin contained about 0.1867 ounces of gold, slightly lighter than the quarter ounce, really more close to the 5-gram gold bar, but firmly within that transactional range. The 10 franc was roughly half that weight, even closer to the 1/10 ounce coin than any other example so far. In Mexico, the 5 peso gold coin carried about 0.1206 ounces of gold, and the 10 peso carried about 0.241 ounces. Again, the same repeating pattern. Across nations, across languages, across empires. Roughly a tenth and roughly a quarter. That was the sweet spot. These coins were the workhorses. They were large enough to matter, but small enough to move. You could pay wages with them, you could settle invoices, you could cross a border and have them recognized. You could accumulate them in meaningful quantity without needing a vault cart to carry them around. And now think about the psychology of gold at $5,000 an ounce. A 1 ounce coin represents a $5,000 bill. That's more than most used vehicles, and it's a lot more than most people's monthly rent. If gold doubles from here, then 1 ounce coin becomes $10,000. That changes how people behave. Even wealthy buyers feel this shift coming. It's not that they can't afford the $10,000. It's that walking into a shop and leaving with one single coin doesn't feel like accumulation anymore. It doesn't feel diversified. It doesn't feel flexible. There's something psychologically powerful about quantity. 4 coins feels different than 1, and 8 coins feels different than 2. Humans measure wealth visually. We count, we stack, we spread coins in our hand and subconsciously assess progress. 2 large coins can feel underwhelming. A handful of fractional coins feels substantial. This isn't irrational, it's behavioral economics. As denominations grow larger, flexibility shrinks. Imagine trying to transact in a world where every bill in your wallet was a $5,000 note. You could hold enormous value in a very small place, but it would be inconvenient for ordinary transactions. You would constantly need change every transaction. Even look at what happens when you try to regularly spend a $100 bill. Historically, gold functions the same way. When gold became too valuable in a given denomination, smaller denominations emerged to facilitate that circulation. And that's where fractional gold stops being a premium discussion and starts being a structural discussion. If gold moves to $10,000, a 1 ounce coin becomes a very high denomination instrument. It becomes the equivalent of carrying around a thick stack of large bills. Practical for storage, but less practical for movement. But now a 1/4 ounce coin at that same gold price would represent $2,500. A 10th ounce gold coin would represent $1,000. And those numbers are far more usable, far more divisible, and far more liquid in smaller transactions. Liquidity isn't just about selling to a dealer, it's also about optionality. Can you sell part of your gold without selling all of it? Can you trade in increments that make sense? Can you adjust exposure without cutting too deeply? Fractional gold gives you those options. Now, it's true that fractional coins carry higher premiums. That's real. Manufacturing costs don't scale down perfectly with weight. Smaller coins require more minting efforts per ounce, so dealers have to charge a slightly higher percentage. But premiums compress in strong bull markets. When demand rises sharply, buyers focus less on percentage and more about availability and flexibility. And liquidity itself carries value. If a 1/4 ounce coin moves faster in a rising market because more buyers can afford it, that liquidity can offset premium concerns. But there's another dimension here that often goes unspoken. As gold prices rise, new buyers enter the market. And their entry point matters. If gold is $10,000 an ounce, how many new participants would comfortably start at a $10,000 coin? Some will, but many won't. But a $1,000 coin, that's psychologically accessible. Another side is the sellback rates. At $10,000 gold, a 1 ounce coin becomes unsellable through a dealer. The dealer won't hold on to them, and they'll have to sell them to wholesale, which cuts their profits in half. The buyback rate will have to reflect that. Even now, a 1 ounce gold coin is offered 5 to 8% under spot. Imagine how much worse it's going to get when a dealer has no chance of selling it. And that's true historically too. The smaller gold coins were not cheap, they were practical. They allowed a broader participation, and that broader participation strengthened the market. The 1 ounce bullion coin as we know it today is largely a modern invention of the late 20th century. It emerged in an era of investment demand, not everyday circulation. It was built for storage, hedging, and long-term holding. But if we move to a higher gold price environment where gold increasingly reflects monetary tension, currency debasement concerns, and long-term wealth preservation shifts, the nature of demand could evolve. Not away from gold, but towards usable gold, towards divisible gold, towards historically proven denominations. The repeating pattern across nations is difficult to ignore. The U.S. half eagle, the British sovereign, the 20 franc pieces of the Latin Monetary Union, the Mexican 10 pesos, all hovering around that quarter ounce range. And the U.S. quarter eagle, the 5 peso, half sovereigns, and 10 franc pieces all around the 1/10 ounce size. Different designs, different empires, but same economic logic. And that logic didn't emerge by accident. It emerged because those sizes worked the best. They were the balance between value density and transactional flexibility. As we look forward, the question isn't, will gold hit 10,000? The question is, if it does, what changes? Do we assume that the modern 1 ounce format remains dominant forever? Or do we consider that markets adapt? Even deep-pocketed individuals are preferring to walk out of a coin shop with many quarter-ounce coins instead of just one 1-ounce coin. It's more optionality, more liquidity layers, and more flexibility. And that preference will become stronger as prices rise. The structure matters. A stack built entirely of 1-ounce coins is powerful. It's clean, efficient, but it's also very high denomination. A stack layered with fractional pieces introduces granularity. Historically, granularity wins. It always has. But that doesn't mean abandoning the 1-ounce coins. It just means thinking ahead. If we're entering a high gold price world, whether slowly over decades or sharply during a currency event, fractional gold may not be a niche product anymore. It may become the workhorse again. Not because of fear, because of practicality. And there's something fitting about that, because the coins that built trade weren't massive. They were balanced, they were trusted, and they were sized for movement. As gold climbs, the conversation shifts away from how do I own gold to how usable is my gold. And that's a different mindset, and perhaps a wiser one. I just made my own line of coffee. Joseph's Reserves It's Today Again coffee. Most mornings aren't dramatic. They're quiet. You wake up, pour yourself a cup, and now you have a choice. Drift through the day or take hold of what's in front of you. That's really what this whole thing's about. Showing up, building good habits, staying disciplined in the small things. Whether that's stacking consistently, learning something new, or just being faithful with what you've been given. I put these words on every bag to remind myself first. Every morning is a gift. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today. So take a breath, take a sip, and let's get to work. It's today again. You can now write me at Joseph's Reserves, 10160 Highway 242, Suite 800, number 401 in Conroe, Texas, zip code 77385. Make sure to include your information so I can write you back. If you liked today's video, go down and give it a thumbs up. Take any comments or questions to the comment section and share the video to anyone you think might like it. If you haven't already, subscribe. But most of all, thank you so much for watching. And just remember, every ounce adds up, so no matter how small, just keep stacking.